Welcome to Specific Love. Here are 10 great things you can buy at Harbor Freight. And by the way, they did not sponsor us for this video. First up is this oscillating spindle sander. It has a nice hard steel surface so that it's really rigid. You don't have to worry about it moving around. The total item is relatively lightweight so that you can pick it up, move it around, do whatever you need with it. It comes with a variety of sizes on the spindles. It works really well moving up and down as spinning, and it's been really reliable ever since I originally purchased it. It has a number of plastic pieces in the base that are interchangeable so that you can keep your piece from sliding down actually into the sander. On the back of it is an exhaust port so that you can easily pull away any of that dust and keep your area as clean as possible. On the front is a relatively large on-off switch that you can easily turn on and turn off in case of an emergency. On the back of it is some convenient storage that you can put all of your spindles just to keep them out of the way but easy access. Overall, I've been really pleased with this sander. The initial price is decently priced, but if you keep an eye out for that 20% off coupon, you can save even more and get an even better deal. So, check this one out. Next up are clamps. Harbor Freight has a bunch of different types of clamps, but there are really only two that I would suggest for you. First off are these F-style clamps. They work basically like any other type. They're relatively reliable. I've bought a bunch of these, as you can see here. I've only had one or two fail over time, and I do use these a lot. So decently good price and for a good product. Also, some of these deep throat C-clamps. These are really nice, especially if you're trying to reach way in on a project and you just can't get in there. These are also relatively good price. I do recommend maybe keep an eye out for a sale price on the F-style. These don't really go on sale that often that I've noticed, so maybe save it for your 20% off coupon. Either way, go get you some clamps. Now, if you're going to be using stain or polyurethane on some of your projects, it's always good to have some extra brushes. You can get these relatively cheap. These are the foam brushes. You can get these in large packs, and you can also get the bristle ones too. You get them relatively cheap, but I'd only suggest using these for a one-time use. They don't have a great long life to be cleaned and reused, but if you're just using them one time, these work out great. So keep an eye out for the brushes. Parts organization is a great idea, and if you buy some of these bins at Harbor Freight, it's a great way to store some of your pieces. They're easy access to get into, and they have a bunch of different little size buckets that you can put things in. Let me show you how I organize mine. Now these bins are pretty awesome. This is the medium size, and these are the ones I do recommend the most for because you can create a nice little system for it. These all have individual slots that, as long as you just push it in easily, it works great. I built this in a previous project. If you want to see that, I'll put that in the description below. Also, another setup on these bins are all interchangeable all throughout each one and with others. So if you want to mix and match, which I have done here, it just makes an easy way to keep all your parts bins all separated and organized. For example, I have a bunch of screws in that one. I have a bunch of hooks in this one, whatever you want. So make sure you check these out. Also, keep an eye out for coupons. It's the best way to get the best deal on these. Next up would be a simple little hammer. Yes, I know hammers are very common, but these are really cheap. We work great in a lot of little projects, especially if you're trying to get in tight places. Plus, these work great for kids. So if you're looking to get together a little box, a toolbox for your kids to get started with their tools, keep an eye out for these. They work great. Now, if you need just a cheap set of chisels, Harbor Freight has a decent brand. Now these chisels are relatively inexpensive, but it's also because the quality of the steel is not perfect, but for common use, maybe you're doing some half laps and some 2x4s, they will work. One of the downsides when you buy these, you do have to flatten them. On the back side here, it took a lot of work to get them nice and flat and to get it nice and sharp, but you can get them that way. So just be prepared, you will need some working on these to get them to just the exact shape you need, but overall they are a good set of just basic working chisels. Alright, if you spend a lot of time in your shop, having a floor mat, especially a cushioned floor mat, is not only a want, it's a necessity. Alright, now I picked these up at Harbor Freight. They're relatively inexpensive. They're not super thick, but the great thing about it, you can double these up. All the edges have a design in them, so you can interlink these. You can have them quite large. As you can see here, I've abused these a good bit and they're holding together quite well. Also, if you don't prefer the textured side, they do have a nice smooth side, but that's totally up to you. Now, I love using these things, just it keeps my back and feet from hurting, and I suggest you getting something similar. Now, these right here are great if you can get them on the coupon sale, you can save even more, so just keep an eye out for these nice cushion mats. Now if you need a belt sander, here's a relatively cheap way and a good way to get a 2-in-1 setup. Now this is a 4-inch belt sander, and it also has a small disc sander over here on the side. For this, I've used it for pen blanks and other small little random things, which works great. The belt sander, on the other hand, I have beat the mess out of this thing and it just continues to go. It has adjustments and a few things that you can fine tune, but overall, it's pretty good itself. It does have a dust port down here. It works okay if you can get your hose in there. It is kind of a tight fit, but overall, it does work. Overall, this is a nice setup. Go out there and get you a nice benchtop belt sander and have fun using it. Next up is a 7-inch bench brush. All these bristles are nice and firm, but they do have a good bit of flex, which you don't have to worry about hurting up your tools. If you want to clean your stuff real easy, it's real easy at just sweeping up everything you need. This works great at getting all the little crevices of my table saw. You can get in here and just get most of that swept up in just a couple quick seconds, and just cleaning up your tools in general. Next up is a mover's dolly. Now, of course, a mover's dolly is not for everybody unless you consider the advantages this has. Not only can you move stuff with it, this is great if you have some heavy tools. You can actually put on this and move them around your shop. Also, if you look at the bottom, you have 4 heavy-duty casters. If you were to buy each of these casters just by themselves, would cost you more than this whole setup. In addition, you do have a little bit of hardwood. So if you were to use these casters on a different project, you could then have some wood to use in addition. So, not only should you look out for these, you should look out for a coupon and save even more money. So keep an eye out for one of these mover dollies. Now while you're at the store, keep an eye out for these little rare earth magnets. They come in packs of 10 in these little plastic containers, and I still have 10 still in here because I buy a bunch of these. They're really handy. I've made them to use little magnets to put on a magnetic board. You can also use different versions right here behind your tools, for example on my French cleat setup. Overall, these magnets are really useful and really powerful, so keep an eye out for them. Now one of the free items you need to keep your eye out for, especially for the coupons, is this LED light. Yes, it looks very simple, but they do come in really handy. It has a light on the end and a light on the top. It's a great way just to throw one of these in your bag, and you can easily keep them just stored for that emergency use. It also has a nice little hanger on the top here. You can hang them on the wall, and a magnet where you can attach them to a lot of stuff. Keep an eye out for them. Another one of the items you need to keep an eye out for a free coupon is this little magnetic tray. It works great when you're trying to throw your tools in. I use it a lot over at my drill press to catch a lot of my items. But also, if you're willing to take this magnet off the back, it's usually glued on, so you're going to have to sometimes pry it apart. You can turn it into 2 separate little useful items. First off, I turn this tray over for my glue spreader, and I can stick it in here. It stays, and I'm able to pull apart the glue. Yeah, it gets a little nasty in there, but it's a great way to keep glue off of your workbench. Now for the magnet, I actually took this and I screwed it onto some PVC. This attaches to my drill press also, and it's a great little dust collection system just for using for that. So keep an eye out for this setup. It's a great way to get something for free. Now there's several inexpensive tools you can use to help benefit yourself in a shop. If you have any other tools from Harbor Freight that you use that are actually good and reliable, put that in the comments. I'd love to see those, and you could help other people yourself. We also recently signed up to Patreon. If you want to support us, you just kind of help us out. I'll put a link to that in the description. Check it out. Otherwise, have fun building. You can easily store these in. Well, it's being each of these goes into its own corresponding slot. That is when it's not jamming. What the heck is going on? Set of chisels. Harbor Freight has a decent set. Let me just try to get out knocking it off the wall. Freight has a decent. Dadgummit, I did it again.